Good morning, and we are in chapter 2 today of Alma, and we are going to talk about Amlici. And it came to pass that in the commencement of the 5th year of the reign of the judges, there began to be a contention among the people for a certain man being called Amlici, he being a very cunning man, a wise man to the wisdom of the world, he being after the order of the man who slew Gideon by the sword. Here's Gideon again. Remember yesterday we had, yay, Gideon, and boo, the other man, Nahor. They come up again this time, but who was executed according to the law. One thing I was thinking today was, where was Nahor and where was Amlici in all this time? So this is about 5 years after King Messiah has died, and it's 5 years of the rule or the reign of the king of, or the reign of the judges over the people. The Amlici and Nahor are grown men, Nahor was a grown man. Now he's dead. But what were they doing during that time? I have a feeling that they were sowing their seeds all that time and had something in their mind. And we'll see that Amlici, I think, had a lot more cunning and what he thought he could do. So Amlici had by his cunning drawn away much people after him, even so much that they began to be very powerful, and they began to endeavor to establish Amlici to be a king over the people. 5 years in, and there's also already somebody that wants to be a king. I don't know what it would have been like if there was another king. If Aaron was king, would Amlici challenge him? Maybe, or probably. The thing is the difference is they now have a law that they have to bring it to the people. This was alarming to the people of the church, and also those who had not been drawn away after the persuasions of Amlici. So both people, the church and those that don't belong to the church, but that could see through what Amlici was doing, for they knew according to their law that such things should be established by the voice of the people. Therefore, if it were possible that Amlici should gain the voice of the people, he, being a wicked man, should deprive them of their rights and privileges of the church, for it was his intent to destroy the church. And you see that this would be very shocking, because you know that he's not looking after the interest of the people. He wants to destroy the Church of God. He's come out somehow in his political statements against the church, which we don't have here, but I'm sure that it is quite a lot of. So he's drawing away a lot of the people who, back during King Messiah's reign, were those that left the church or wouldn't become part of the church and were separate as to their faith thereafter, basically. And it came to pass that the people assembled themselves together, and every man according to his mind, and there's a lot of dispute and contentions. Don't see that today, do we ever? We just vote and that's it. No contentions anywhere here. No dispute. And they did assemble themselves according to their pattern, and then it came to pass the voice of the people came up against Amlici, and he was not made king, but over the people. But Amlici didn't stop there. He did stir up those that were in favor against those that were not in favor, and it is amazing that he got that much, so much power and passion that they would follow him to this point, and they did make him their king. So now they're a separate people. They really are a separate people. They are Amlicites. I'm just going to skip through a little bit. There's no way we'd get through this whole chapter if we didn't. Just reading it straight through took me 15 minutes. Maybe I'm a slow reader and I do ponder things, but I like to talk about it. I like to talk about what we're learning here. So, Amlicites are a different people now. And the Nephites are there, but they're kind of combined still. But he gets the people together to go against them. And, but the people of Nephi are aware of what's happening, so they arm themselves and they're prepared to meet the Amlicites at the time of their coming. But Amlici has one thing up his sleeve. They first have the fight by the River Sidon, east of the River Sidon, I guess is Sidon, I think. There they began to make war, and Alma goes out with the people and fights with Amlici himself, and the Nephites fall before the Amlicites. Now, I think this is interesting. Nevertheless, the Lord did strengthen the hand of the Nephites, and they slew the Amlicites with great slaughter. And they fight all day, and there's 12,532 souls of the Amlicites. That's a lot of people. This wasn't a small thing that had happened. This fracture, that's not all of the Amlicites. That was... You think if a certain amount of you were destroyed and the rest of you weren't, the rest would give up. But that must be a lot of people. And I'm not going to go through all the numbers or why the numbers are or whatever, because I've heard a lot of things about it and theories. I don't care. I just think of them as there's a lot. And about half the amount of the Nephites are killed. So this is a major battle. This is a major devastation for the Nephites, because to many of these people it's 20,000 of their friends and neighbors, whether they're Amlicites or not. Now, I find it interesting that they pitched their tents in the valley of Gideon, and the valley being called after Gideon, who was slain by the hand of Nahor. So they're bringing that up again. Remember, Amlicite is basically a disciple of Nahor, or he follows the same course as him, believing in the same things that we talked about yesterday. And as they pitch their tents, they send out spies. And if you want another trivia question, is who were the spies that were sent out to watch the camp of the Amlicites? Zeram, Amner, Manti, and Limner. A great trivia question that would stump most people. It'd be kind of fun. It'd probably stump me a little bit. I might get Manti because I can remember that in Amner, but I'd forget somebody's name because there's 4 of them. and I can only remember 3 things at a time, like a goldfish. Anyway, so they run. These 4 guys come running back to the camp, and they realize that, wait a minute, the Amalekites aren't alone. They have met up with the Lamanites. Wait a minute. Where's the Lamanites come from? Obviously, this was planned. Amalek had to have been in conjunction, had talks with the Lamanites. What if he would have won in the first place and would have become king? There would have been this what's it called? A contract or something with the Lamanites, that they would be joined with them, and this is what is happening now. So it wasn't like, oh, Amalekites go, oh, look, there's some Lamanites, let's go and join them. No, I think this is all prepared. They knew what was going on. They knew that what they were doing. And so this just escalates everything. So the people are pulling out of the towns where the Lamanites are going, and they were coming closer. Anyway, so there's a lot of geography here as well, which I didn't want to get into very much, but they meet him at the river Sidon. The Lamanites and the Amalekites are all together, a big host, numerous almost as the sands of the sea, came upon them to destroy them. Nevertheless, the Lamanites, being strengthened by the hand of the Lord, notice this is what he keeps mentioning, being strengthened by the hand of the Lord, prayed mightily to him that he would deliver them out of the hands of their enemies. Therefore the Lord did hear their cries, and did strengthen them, and the Lamanites and the Amalekites did fall before them. This is where they put their focus. Praying unto God, praying to the Lord that he would deliver them. And he does. And it came to pass that Alma fought with Amalek with a sword, face to face, and did contend mightily with one another. And it came to pass that Alma, being a man of God, being exercised with much faith, saying, O Lord, have mercy and spare my life, that I may be an instrument in thy hands to save and preserve this people. When Alma had said these words, he contended again with Amalek, and he was strengthened insomuch that he slew Amalek with the sword. And he also contended with the king of the Lamanites, but the king of the Lamanites fell back, and Alma sent his guards to contend with before Alma, and sent his guards to contend with Alma. So Alma sends his guards to contend with them, and they slew and drove them back, and they cleared the ground, rather the bank, and this is quite graphic, throwing the bodies of the Lamanites that had been slain into the waters of Sidon, so they might have room to cross and contend with the Lamanites and the Amalekites on the west side of the river Sidon. And it came to pass that when they had all crossed the river, and the Lamanites and Amalekites began to flee before them, and they were numerous, they fled into the wilderness, and beyond the borders, and they were met on every hand and driven, and they were scattered to the west and the north, and on the north, and they reached the wilderness, and the beast. A lot of description in this about it was infested with ravenous beasts, and it came to pass that many died in the wilderness of their wounds, and were devoured by the beasts, and also the vultures of the air, and their bones were found and have been heaped upon the earth. Really quite graphic there, but you see what happens when you follow a wicked man. And Amlici was a wicked man, but for some reason they continued to be Amlicites. And we will see that later in the future. And all this happened in a short amount of time after King Mosiah died. And I do think that this was years in the making. And this is what happens when you have wicked people like Amlici that take their cunning and their speech and make it sound like they know what's happening or know better than the Lord. I hope this doesn't ruin your day thinking about the wicked, and think about what you can do today to make it better, and we'll see you tomorrow.